So I came across this post today that said 1 out of 20 Black American households are now millionaires. And it made me smile because I said, man, we finally breaking through. We finally seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. And I see this for myself and my family as well. I want to add myself and my family into that 1 out of 20 as well, sooner than later, right? It also had me thinking, like, what is some of the biggest barriers that we face in our community that we are doing to ourselves? Now, there's a whole host of things that the system does to us, but what are we doing to ourselves that we can try to reverse and take ownership of to propel ourselves and our family into wealth, right? And the first thing that comes to mind is managing our debt. We as Americans as a whole love debt. We love charging something. We love payments. We love, Klarna was the worst thing that happened to us. But Black Americans specifically, we feel like we got a point to prove. We always need the new car. We always need the designer clothes. And shoes. We always need the vacations. We always need to be posting and sharing a life of luxury, even if we haven't earned it yet. We feel like a lot of us just feel like we gotta showcase that, right? Which puts us in a massive amount of debt. And it's one thing I've learned as someone who is big on debt payoff and building wealth and investing, is that it's really hard to invest when you don't have no money at the end of the month, because you're giving it all away back to the credit card company, back to the personal loan company, back to the bank, back to the auto loan company, back to the, back to the student loan company. Like, we have to prioritize paying down debt. So I bring this all up to say, I actually want to show y'all how much debt I have right now. As someone who is Black, American, a family of 4, I have an 820 credit score, and I'm gonna show y'all exactly what my debt profile looks like from Experian right now. So here it is. I have $365,000 of debt. As you see here on the breakdown, 321,000 of that 365 is real estate, and that is the debt for 2 properties. One property that I personally own and live in is I owe $130,000 on, the house that I'm currently recording this video in. I owe $130,000 on this house. This house was bought in 2019, and I owe $190,000 on a rental property that was purchased in 2021. So that's the only real estate debt that I have. And actually the debt that I have on the mortgage of the rental property not only makes enough money from the tenants to pay for itself, its own mortgage, but it also makes enough money to pay for the personal residence that I currently live in as well. So I'm pretty much at a net zero every single month in regards to my living expenses and the debt that's being serviced for that 321,000 or so. The other 44 roughly thousand, it says credit lines and credit cards. I actually don't have any credit card debt. I don't have any automobile debt. I don't have any personal loan debt. I don't have any student loan debt either. None of that stuff. That 44,000 is actually a HELOC that I took out 2.5 years ago on my personal residence to do a 6-figure addition on our home. We've paid it down to around 44,000 so far. That's the only thing left. So even though it says credit cards and credit lines, they just group those together, but it actually is just a second mortgage on my primary residence. So really, I only have real estate debt. I don't have any other type of debt, right? And what that allows me to do is have money left over every single month to invest. If I had car notes, if I had credit card debt that I was paying every month, if I had personal loan debt, if I had student loans that I was paying every month, it would make it significantly harder to put money aside and invest for my future and get us into that $1 million status, that 1 out of 20, right? And I noticed from just talking to people for years and years about money, the main thing that's holding them back is debt. It's not that they don't know how to invest. It's not that they don't want to invest. They literally can't because they make $6,000 a month and $5,800 goes to bills. So when you manage your debt properly, not only will your credit score benefit from it, but you'll actually have money left over to take ownership of your future.
Yo, my boy built an app and y'all gonna fucking like it, and you better go sign up.
Hey, you guys, I built like a
Put it to your face.
Like a Black Amazon. It's called Black. It's Black-owned businesses that you can shop from around the world. It also has 50,000 black-owned businesses, brick and mortar, that are in your neighborhood that you can shop. So I hope you guys all download it. Thank you.
He ain't hoping for shit. You better do it.
Child, they think they slick. They're pulling the rug right out from under black folks. And if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it. They're coming for black wealth all over again. Over 300,000 black women lost or were forced out of their jobs between May 2025 and August 2025. 300,000. Let that sink in. Black women's unemployment now sits at 6%, which is nearly double the rate for black women's unemployment. And baby, that's not by happenstance. That's strategic. Across the board, black unemployment hit 7.2% in July 2025, compared to 3.7% for white folks. Baby, ain't none of this by happenstance. And to make matters worse, they're coming for NIL deals. The few new pipelines where black athletes can build generational wealth. These deals have the potential to empower black athletes by letting them profit from their talents and their own brands, income that was almost impossible before. So I'll say this again. Black wealth is under attack. This is why I say, now more than ever, black solidarity, black unity, black love. We can't keep depending on systems that were never built for our success. We must build our own pipelines, produce wealth, own our brands, support our brands, and circulate the black dollar in our community. And just know, Harry didn't take everybody, and everybody ain't going to activate. So we can't even be worried about those people. We got to stop and wonder why we never hear about the Asian community. That's because they're producers of wealth. Meanwhile, many black Americans are consumers of said wealth. Baby, we got to change that. And speaking of protecting black wealth, do you have your money in a black-owned bank? Here are 10 you can choose from. Because, baby, I just opened up a savings account at one of these. All right, drink your water. Stay rooted, real, and knowledgeable. And mind your black business. Happy Black History 365. And I'll see you next time.
For too long, we've been told that wealth is not for us, that black people will always struggle. But it's a lie. And I'm here to kill it today because black wealth is possible. And not only is it possible, it's already happening. Are you aware that in America today we have we have even black billionaires? We have tech CEOs. Do you know that? But they keep seeing us as if, the black wealth isn't possible. And so that's what we're here to talk about, actually. Just watch some of those videos, right? And then grab one or two while I'll come back with the commentaries.
In order for women of color to actually heal, they need to make more money. I used to be a social worker making $2,500 a month. Now I make $100K a month. And I see so many women of color, and I did this as well, where buying the books, going to therapy, doing all the things, but we're still experiencing the number one need, which is money, which is finances, which is our security, which is being able to afford things. That number one need is still going unmet. When I actually earned more money, when I actually became an entrepreneur and quit my job, I was able to afford better therapy. I was able to get distance and away from people who were toxic. I was able to afford healthcare to heal my chronic illness. If I was still making $2,500 a month, I couldn't be able to afford the other ways that I needed healing. And we can also get really upset at, okay, well, why does healing cost so much money? We can spend our energy there, yes. And maybe it's a both and, we can spend our energy just making the money it takes to heal.
So there's this Nigerian billionaire businesswoman and philanthropist named Folorunsho Alakija. When she was growing up, she wanted to become a lawyer. Her father had the money to pay for any law school in the country, even probably in the world, but decided that because she was a girl, she should be a secretary. He figured that she would get married and change her last name, and there was no point in investing in someone who couldn't carry on the family name. She studied anyway, and she became a secretary back then. She landed in Chicago, and then she went into banking. A few years into this field, she kept feeling unfulfilled. She always felt called to entrepreneurship, and at this point, she didn't care what anyone thought. She was going to pursue that calling. She was going to do it. So she enrolled in a fashion design program in the UK and left banking for good. Lesson number 1, it is never too late to change courses. It doesn't matter if you're 16 or 60. Someone else or a life situation may have dictated your current path, but you can always deviate from that path. There are no rules. So back to the story. After completing her studies, she decided that she wanted to launch her own clothing line. She went back to Nigeria and got to work. A week before she launched, she got a call from a friend asking her to enter this competition for Nigeria's top fashion designer. She thought, first of all, she just started. She would be competing with the best of the best. Was she ready? Second of all, this could not have come at a worse time. She only had 1 week to launch and just wanted to use that 1 week to de-stress and get mentally ready for her launch. Now, after weighing things, she decided to take a leap of faith and she entered the competition. Lesson number 2, no opportunity is absolutely perfect, and rarely do they come at the perfect time. The best opportunities require a leap of faith, and they will push you and they'll stretch you, and you won't have all the answers. Say yes and then figure it out. After entering the competition alongside a lot more experienced designers, she actually won. She ended up being featured in all of the top Nigerian newspapers. People started wearing her clothes. She even developed an international following, and to top it off, Nigeria's first lady at the time started wearing her designs. As her business thrived, she set her sights on something else, the oil and gas industry. She applied for an oil prospecting license in Nigeria. The application sat in limbo for years. Each time it would seem like something was about to happen. Another government administration would take over, and it was back to square one. Finally, her license got approved, and she was ecstatic. It was really happening. Things were finally working out for her, until she found out that the block that she was assigned was way offshore and under 5,000 feet of water. On top of that, she was given a sole risk license, which meant that all of the risk was carried by her. If she found oil, she had to compensate the government. If she didn't, she was crap out of luck. Lesson number 3, use every gift that you have. Don't rely on one thing. Explore, expand, elevate. Another thing to keep in mind, when you finally get your dream to come to life, it might look slightly different than you imagine. There will be obstacles, but this isn't the time to give up and throw away the whole dream. After her license was approved, she set out to find a multinational company to partner with. She had the license, they had the technology and the money to explore and exploit that block. It took 3 years of no thank you and we're not interested until Texaco came calling. For 3 months, they negotiated a contract on possibilities, probabilities, and potential. They could find nothing or they could find everything. There were no guarantees. All they knew was that the Niger River Basin had been collecting oil for 72 to 163 million years. That's 72 to 163 million years of potential and possibility. This was the risk of a lifetime. But as my grandmother used to say, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Guess what? They struck gold and they found oil. Lesson number 4, people don't usually know what to do with raw potential. They prefer a finished product. This is why you stage a home to sell it. It's not often that someone comes into a blank space and sees the potential in that space. Even if the buyer knows that they won't get to keep the furniture that they're seeing in the staging, they've seen what is possible. You have to know what's possible, what you're capable of, and the raw talent that's inside of you, and hold on to it, even when others don't see it, especially when they don't see it. Lesson number 5, don't ever let anyone try to lowball you or diminish you because all you're bringing to the table is potential. As everyone involved basked in the glory of hitting the jackpot, the Nigerian government came calling. They wanted 50% of everything. Now, Texaco had already taken 40%. That left this woman with 60%. The government wanted 50%, which left her with just 10%. After all of that, after every setback that she had to go through to get there, she decided to fight back and take the federal government to court. Lesson number 6, you may have to fight even after you get everything that you want, not just for your present, but for your future. It might seem insane to take on that kind of Goliath. It might look like you're fighting a battle that you can't win, but your future is worth going to war for. It took 12 years, but she won, and she is still thriving and grateful and giving and helping people all over the world with what she's been blessed with. Life is filled with twists and turns. I know a lot of us don't like that. We like straightforward path, but most of us give up too soon. We allow people to define what our potential is worth. If something isn't producing results fast enough, we abandon it. There was a man based in Texas years ago who owned some farmland. He kept complaining to his wife that the land wasn't doing well. It wasn't yielding anything. He wanted to sell it. His wife would ask him not to wait a little. He finally gave in and he sold. A year later, someone else struck oil on that property. No one will believe in you more than you. That's why knowing yourself is key in this journey. It means that you can remain steadfast in your belief in yourself, in your gifts, and what you're worth, even when other people don't see it.
I'm gonna ruffle some feathers with this one, but that's what I do. Only 6% of African Americans make over $100,000 a year. Now, if you were to look at that percentage as it relates to education, so people holding a bachelor's degree or higher, you're looking at 16% of African Americans. If you were to strip away education as a whole and just look at African Americans, those without degrees, you're looking at 2%. You need to go to school. You need to go to school. I don't want to hear none. If you are young and you don't have any skills and you are a African American, you need to go to school. Ignore what everybody talking about. Oh, and you know, y'all be straddled with debt. Women be straddled with debt. You need to go to school. I don't care how much it costs. I don't care what the ROI, I heard the ROI is not that great. Yes, it is. I spent over $100,000 on my education. I make over $100,000 a year. What are we talking about here? You could argue me down and, but the interest is eating you whole. Okay, let it eat me whole. I'm not worried about none of them goddamn student loans for real. I make as much money as I make because I went to school. What are we missing here? I had to pay to play because I am an American and I am black. According to this country, I'm black. So guess what? I'm taking my black ass to school. Amen.
I want to share something extremely important with y'all if I'm looking to decide this because I'm reading. According to several projections, if current trends continue, the median wealth for Black Americans could reach zero by 2053. This is a significant decline for Black Americans' median income by 2050. So in the next 20 to 25 years, the median income, the median wealth gap is going to increase beyond measures that if you think it's hard now, it's about to get harder in the next 20 to 25 years. I'm not talking about 100 years from now. I'm not even talking about 50 years from now. In the next 20 years, the wealth equity gap is going to be so massive that the projected wealth gap, or the projected wealth for Black Americans in the United States of America, is projected to be zero. And this is why I share resources. This is why I talk about being so stern in the amount of money that you make in career pathways and why education is so important. I know we see a lot, particularly on social media, because that is the media platform that mostly everybody is interacting in. And there is a lot of smoke and mirrors, right? It is so important for you to understand educational pathways, career pathways as it relates to financial freedom and financial equity. Because if you think the economy is hard now, it is not going to ease up, particularly for minority groups, specifically speaking Black Americans. And so when I am referring to the achievement gap, when I'm talking about the career pathways, the educational pathways, is always in a historical context. But a lot of times we think about historical context just being slavery, or just being Jim Crow, or just being the 1970s, or just being the Civil Rights Act. And those disparities are simply just textbook and historical references. You are currently being affected by the achievement gap. You are currently being affected, not infected. You are being affected by racial inequities, and the way to keep the haves and the have-nots is not giving you access to money, not giving you access to education. Again, we have heard this access or lack thereof to educational pathways and career pathways quite literally throughout the history of time for Black Americans. I want you to be so stern and ask for more. Ask for more money in your interviews. If your job is not giving you more money every 2 years, by that second year, you need to leave and find a new job. This is not, oh, well, I'm too scared. Let me tell you, you should be more scared that the median income for all Black Americans, when we're looking at this from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, from the U.S. Department of Labor, you should be more scared that wealth is projected to be at 0 for most Black Americans in the United States by 2053. That should scare you more than just sending that email asking if they're hiring. That should scare you more than applying to that graduate school. That should scare you more than not interviewing for that job or not negotiating higher. There is no excuse because time is not on your side. You need to be the person that advocates for yourself, also not just in a self-confidence bubble, right? Because a lot of times when we think about advocacy, it's through the lens of personal development and self-development. You need to advocate for yourself financially. You need to have a Roth IRA. You need to have a 401k. You need to have a high yield savings account. You need to have low to 0 credit card debt. You do not need any consumer debts. You do not need that shirt, the newest purse, the newest vacation, if you cannot put that same amount in your savings the time that you spend it. Okay? Please, please, please advocate for yourself in these spaces as it relates to college and career. If that academic institution is not tailored to your learning needs, leave and find a new one.
People in West Africa are starting to live better than people in the Western world. Now, I'm not talking about everybody, but I'm talking about if you're well-to-do, if you're doing pretty good in your life, it's better to be doing really well in Africa than it is to be in America. Now, I'm currently in America, and it's like a little bit of a culture shock coming back from Africa because when you come here, you're around people who, on paper, they're very successful, rich, and all that. But all these people are drowning in debt. They got a nice car, but they don't own it. They've got a lease on it. They may say that they own a house, but they kind of do, but they have a huge mortgage on it. But in Africa, people own everything outright. And what does this lead to, like, in day-to-day life? Well, when you know someone who's well-to-do in Africa, they're a lot more relaxed. They feel like they can go on trips with you. They're a lot more generous. People here, even though they may have a lot of money on paper in America, the second they let their foot off the gas, the second they stop hustling, those bills will catch up on them really quick. And it shows like kind of why I feel West Africa is the future, because here people are putting up an appearance of being rich, well-to-do, but it's fueled by debt and it's fueled by them working 2 jobs. Husband and wife are both working high-paying jobs, 50 hours a week each, and doing all of that to just create this facade. Whereas in West Africa, once these guys have made it, they're living good lives. They're having that balance in life, and they're not killing themselves. So I think long-term, who am I betting on? I'm betting on the lifestyle of West Africa.
What are you the first in your family to do? I'll go first. I am the first millionaire, the first to live debt-free, the first to live on over 40 acres, the first to homeschool, and I'm very blessed and I'm very thankful. And that came with a lot of intentional work, a lot of intentional diligent work.
Something I learned being a black kid who grew up in the suburbs and went to a private school with kids whose parents were execs in Fortune 500 companies and then went to an amazing college and then had to beat the Nepo baby allegations because my dad was a pastor and I followed in his footsteps, even though I was really good at it. Like, let's climb the corporate ladder in my life, is that black success is scary. And there's a particular insidious type of racism that happens for black success, black familial success, that is different than the way racism is typically portrayed. I hate to quote the artist formerly known as Kanye West, but there's broke nigga racism and there's rich nigga racism. And most of the racism we talk about that's individual, not so much the structural, is broke nigga racism. It's look at those poor blacks. Look how we've helped this young man. If you watch Game Day every year has the one black kid who gets adopted by the white family and becomes an incredible football player. And they're just out there like, oh my God, we love him so much. There's that. That is praised. That's looked at as a great thing. Having a family that is doing well, that is assured of itself, that actually knows what it's talking about, that kind of family support is seen as being too in the weeds and too much. And I'm not talking about Dion. I'm literally saying my dad had to go up to my high school at one point and have a conversation with the administration and explain to them that they didn't know how to handle me. They knew how to handle the poor black kids who were on scholarship, who came in just to play sports. They loved having the kid whose future was dependent on them and their education. They didn't know what to do with the kid whose future was going to be built on the foundation that my family had put forward. I was going to be successful because of who we were, not because of who they were. And for some folks, black people should only exist in a space when their existence can be used as a means of making that white person feel better about who they've helped. But I didn't need their help, so they didn't know how to deal with me. So now, whether it's the Sanders or the way that we talked about LeBron James and his son, it's important to recognize there's a particular insidious way in which conversations about confident, successful families that are black comes into play. Conversations about nepotism that we only hear come into play when the characters are black, that we don't necessarily hear when the black characters are dependent or need. I'm so grateful I wouldn't make it without this opportunity, because that's the only way Laura Ingraham can get on TV and say, you're only in the position you're in because we've done this for you. And so LeBron knows what that feels like to be broke and come up. Dion knows what it feels like to be broke and come up. They have both created family experiences for their kids, but that's not the case. And now America doesn't know how to deal with their kids. But I think when we're having conversations about the Sanders, it's important to recognize that there is a particular type of racism that successful black families experience that's different, but has the same underbelly of white supremacy. And internalized white supremacy will have black people looking at successful black families and hating on them just as much as the white families who don't want those black families in their neighborhoods or in their schools, or in this case, quarterbacking their team. And the nuance between those types of racism is really hard to communicate on the internet, especially when we only typically think of broke nigga racism. But I'm telling you, this story was just that. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Wealth in a capitalist society, regardless of the wealthy person's skin, should always be questioned. Wealth should always be questioned. From a political, systemic, institutional perspective, it should always be questioned and met with a critique. Almost always, right? In a society that disparages poor people, that promotes classism, that has so many labor violations, that is invested in systemic poverty. Okay. This and however, if you are constantly saving your critiques of wealth for black folks and you think that black wealth in and of itself is nefarious, is suspicious, is questionable, is met with some type of scam, somebody is doing something, you don't know how they got their wealth, they're not famous, how do they have access to resources, it has to be something, isn't you went to college and you don't have that money, so how would they have that money, and this is that and this is that. Your critique isn't always just rooted in, I want to critique classism. A lot of times it's rooted in anti-blackness. Hello? It's rooted in anti-blackness. And I'm not just saying just because your politic is situated in blackness, and therefore all the men you critique are black men, or all the women that you critique around their need to understand transphobia is black women, or like, so all the wealthy people you are critiquing and have access to are black. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if you trying to go around acting like you're in class solidarity with the working folk, but all the people you are actually critiquing are not these big 1%ers, the real capitalists, the people who institutionally move systems, but the black wealthy people that you have access to every day and you think is scamming and moving money around, your critique is rooted in anti-blackness. I'm telling you that.
I'm going to touch on something that could be a little bit sticky, but I think it's very important for us to have this conversation. Can we have a conversation about how we need to start rewriting what black wealth looks like? Can we start rewriting what black wealth looks like? Because what I've come across, and I think a lot of you guys have probably also come across or are experiencing as well, is that black wealth man is starting to look very, very materialistic, but that has no backbone. It's very materialistic and has no backbone, to the extent where if your source of income had to vanish for whatever apparent reason, you have no place to hide. So we start seeing exactly how you built your house, your figurative house. We start seeing exactly what you put value in as a black person. It's very, very important that we need to start rewriting the concept of what black wealth is. And right now, it seems quite materialistic. It seems as if we need to show that we've made it in life. But when we start looking intrinsically as to what this picture is that you've created for yourself as a black person, starts becoming shocking. I'm not saying this because I'm trying to bash us black people, the middle class, the people that are making it in life. But I'm saying this because over the number of years I've been in financial planning, I've really seen that we are so bloated in expenses. We are bloated in debt. And we have really little to no assets in our names. And even how we carry out our lifestyles, it doesn't aid to us building something that we could even leave as a legacy or could be considered to be generational wealth. That car that you have is not generational wealth. Those beautiful items of clothes that you have is not generational wealth. Those restaurants that you go to all the time, and I'm not saying don't go at all, but the restaurants that you go to all the time, it's not generational wealth. So what I'm now realizing is that the concept of black wealth has been so misconstrued that we're really not getting to the bottom of what wealth should be in itself. We're not acquiring assets. We're not acquiring stability and financial sustainability. We're not acquiring something that we know we can transfer to the people that will hold on to our legacy. And I know a lot of it has got to do with, one, financial trauma, two, where we are as society, three, where social media is. And I know there's a lot of components that have really catapulted what we consider as black wealth. But when we really start trimming the fat, we start realizing that, no, man, it's not actually what it is, hey? It's not actually what it is. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're generating a good amount of money, and it feels like a good amount of money to you, but you really don't know where it's going, or it's all going to materialistic things, start thinking about how you can rewrite your narrative. Start seeing how you can start contributing to this new custom of what black wealth is. And what that is true wealth. And true wealth is you acquiring assets, you living a lifestyle that encompasses your values, not what society says, but encompasses your values and what you want to transcend to your kids and to your legacy. Some food for thought.
Yeah, you see the videos, right? They're even saying that in 2053 or 2056 that black millionaires will be zero. That's a lie. I don't even believe that, right? They blocked our grandfathers, but they can't stop our group chats, our limited liability companies, our crypto wallets, our land purchases. we are spending like kings. Do you know that? A lot of us are spending like kings. They're doing extremely well. Come down to Africa, not just Africa. Go to America. I can tell you about blacks that are millionaires and billionaires that are black, that are Americans, black Americans now. So now I believe their predictions are based on, what they've always seen us as in the past. Right. So let me tell you, buying power isn't the same as wealth. That's what they feel. But we need to start owning like empires. Yeah. We need to actually start living right as well. So we don't have to start spending everything we have when we have it. Black people want to really enjoy the life, buy cars, live the luxury life. Make sure you're also saving, right? Make sure you're saving. Make sure you're getting education, right? Because you will need it. Do you know that? I've always told you guys that you guys are taking over America. And so for you to take over such a great country, you need the money, you need education, you need the skills. Black wealth isn't just a dream, it's a movement. It's already started. Now, the only question is, will you be part of it? Drop a box in the comments if you know you're going to be a part of it, right? It's your time because they can't hold you back forever and you're not even waiting anymore, right? Please, I want to see millionaires and billionaires from you so that you guys can come and help me and help Africans. What do you think? So do not forget to global just BJ, your friend, your sister, and everything. I truly appreciate all the love, the massive love I've been getting on my comment section. Trust me, I see them and it makes me feel special. It makes me want to do what I'm doing more. So thank you so much. Please do not forget to subscribe. Please turn on your notification button, right? Even if I post a video that you don't like, please just allow it to play. Please, please, please watch my videos and make sure to share my videos to people so that they can always watch it and keep me here all the time. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.